Hello. So it's been 10 weeks since we transferred these tomatoes to their indoor hydroponic bucket. This is going to be our fourth time watering them. We started them on July 4th and it is September 11th. And we went through and topped them and removed all suckers to keep them to one main stem. In our previous update, I talked about keeping some stunted suckers for extra yield, but it just ended up becoming overcrowded and too much to maintain. And the suckers ended up getting thicker than I would have liked them to. And I didn't want them to become a second main stem just for some extra yield. So I removed them, and I'll show some clips of how large they got, and that might explain more why we removed them. So we've been documenting up until this point everything from start to finish. I put it in its own playlist called Indoor Hydroponic Tomatoes. So we removed anything getting less than around 3,000 lux with the lux detector. I said it in our last update, but you like around 10 to 30,000 lux. These lights put out around 70,000 at the tip. You can see this plant's getting around 16,000. So anything getting less than 3,000 I like to remove. I don't want to remove more than 30% to 50% of the plant at one time, too much. But this is a very fast growing plant. Since a lot of these are 80 to 90 day harvest, I don't want to look at the light too much. They're above my eyesight, which they're usually not. So a lot of these are going to be harvested soon. My favorite one is the tomato black cherry because it has 100 to 200 tomatoes on it. So each tomato rack has around 18 to 20 tomatoes. And they're all up and down it. We're way at the bottom right now. The large red cherry tomato seems to be making clusters of 8. There's another cluster of 18 to 20. Then the Roma tomato and the Floridade tomato also seem to be making clusters of 8. These are determinate varieties, and they've done a better job at splitting, and they grow a little more funkier, but they're still pretty much the same as the indeterminate. The indeterminate just want to keep growing taller. So you can see the Roma tomato in there. It's a little longer and funky looking. Got a cluster of large red cherry tomatoes here. So I removed any sun leaves that don't get good light. I'm going to go through and test them. We're watering them far more frequently now. Since the first time we watered them was at the 4-week, then the 7-week, then the 9-week, and now we're at the 10-week point. So we've had to add around 2 buckets of nutrient water each time. I've mixed that up and shown that in really great detail in the previous update videos, so I don't want to show that this time, but we are going to go through and test them and add some nutrient water and fresh water to them just to show you guys how we maintain that 2.5 EC again. And I want to show me going through and just removing all the sun leaves and suckers that don't get good light, since we got a big box of probably like a pound or 2 of leaves. It's really packed in there just today from removing excess leaves on these, which is going to help them drink less, focus more on their tomatoes, and eat less, take up less space, get better light, have better oxygen. So I really recommend keeping them to one main stem. I like talk about this all the time, but indoors, since we don't change the environment, we're at 8 hours and 70 degrees. So we continue that growing season year round. So we're going to try and get to keep them for multiple years. Since I've had a tomato live 2 years. So I'm here with the 2-year-old tomato. I just like to show how if we don't keep a sucker at the end of our season, how we'll end up just having suckers at the top left over. And although I can keep this one producing tomatoes, it's a lot more annoying to have a main stem way at the end than if we had just kept one at the bottom near the beginning. So that's what I'm trying to explain is going on with the ones upstairs, is that if we can just keep some of the suckers more towards the beginning of the plant, then when we're done with our first season or second season or third season, that we can just pull up from there and not from the end of this loopy chain. So I only really keep this one just as a demonstration piece. Obviously, I probably should get rid of it. It's not really producing much or doing well, but I just like to have it as a conversation point just because I teach this and I want to just have this as an example. You can see how large its root mass is. It has a dead basil in there with it. Rest in peace. Good. I can finally get rid of this plant. It is swarming with fungus gnats. Alright, well, I don't really need it for much more demonstration beyond that. Alright, I think we get the point. I've talked about this enough in a lot of the updates. I don't think there's much more to be said about it. I've used it for so many examples. He's a smooth operator. Smooth. Alright. And I still have it. And we're going to try and get these to live longer. So I wanted to show this as an example. How we're going to leave some suckers down below, like this one, for example. I'm going to actually remove this one this time, but I just left this one to show how this will become another main stem. So when we top these, they're not going to grow anymore from the top. They're only going to grow from suckers. So we would want to take a sucker from the lowest point possible, since we will get one great good harvest off of these, of maybe 200 to 300 tomatoes, hopefully. But if we want to keep them beyond that season and get 2 seasons or 3 seasons or 4 seasons, we're going to have to take a sucker up from the bottom and gradually take the top down and make them trade places. So I just want to show how some suckers down below, like this, for example, we want to keep our eye on, since we might be able to keep potential ones like these down here for the future. Just because if we can get a shoot to go up like this, we'll get an entire another tomato plant. And we can start to help that shoot out, make it the main shoot, and take it the main shoot down. So that's the idea we're going with. We'll try and document that whole process for you guys so it makes a little more sense than me just talking about it. But let me just go through and test these, see what they came out to, and then add our nutrient water and fresh water. Alright, so we just mixed up the nutrient water. Similar to last time, I mixed up at the maximum amount of the recommended dose of the nutrient bundle I use. There's many nutrient bundles out there. The Veg Bloom bundle I use will be linked in the description down below in our Amazon affiliate page, where if you hover over in the corner of any of the products, it tells you a short description of what we use each of them for. And I showed them in detail in the last videos. I added a couple more grams this time of each of them than the maximum amount, just so that I could make a denser batch. Last time we were testing out to around 2.8. This one's around 3.5. So you can tell it's denser. But this way I just won't have to make as many buckets of nutrient water. And if anything, I'll just have to add some more fresh water. So I tested out the first one, and it looks like it's testing out to around 3.1 EC. And you can see the water levels right about there. So I'm going to start with nutrient water. Even though that is very dense and my nutrient water is very dense, I'm going to add it up to around here, because we can always add more nutrient water if we need to. But if I start with fresh water, then I won't be able to add more nutrient water if I need to. So it's good to always start with nutrient water first, so that we can make sure we get to that 2.5 easier. I hope that makes sense. So I just added the nutrient water up to right here, testing out to 3.3. Now we're going to add some fresh water and retest. I don't like to go above this point, and see if we get down to that 2.5. So you can see we filled it up to this point, testing out to 2.8. I'd rather have a little more than a little less. And you could even go up to 3 with some plants, like pumpkin and different varieties. So 3 isn't too bad to get a little close to. It's 2.7 is perfect to me. So this one's down right here, tested out to 3. We're going to add our nutrient water again, probably up to the red line this time. We'll retest and then see where we're at. So I just added the nutrient water to above the red line and tested out to 2.95. So I think I'm going to add a little bit more nutrient water, probably just to the top there, and then just fresh water, and we'll retest and see what that's at. So I added that little inch of nutrient water, and then the rest fresh water up to right here, and tested out to 2.8, kind of like the last one. But again, there's 6 tomatoes in this bucket. They're heavy drinkers and eaters. It's only been 1 week since the last time we watered, so that's all right. Now we're on the Roma tomatoes. They're at red line. They don't drink nearly as much because they're smaller. The determinate ones aren't as big. They tested out to 2.7. So we're going to do nutrient water probably up to right here, and then probably fresh water. It's probably about 50-50. So I made another batch of nutrient water. This one's testing up to 3.3, 3.4. So I added nutrient water up to here, and it still says 2.87. I don't know if it mixed up well enough, but we're just going to add fresh water all the way up and retest to see what it comes out to. So we just finished the Roma tomato. It's at 2.4 right there. So this one was right around here, testing out to 2.7. These ones don't really need to be watered, but we're going to water them anyway. I'm going to start with nutrient water and go up to probably around here, retest, and then probably fresh water the rest. Our nutrient water up to right there. It's at 2.9, so we're going to do fresh all the way up and retest. So we just finished it off with fresh water, tested out to 2.45, which is perfect. We used about a bucket and a half of nutrient water, but it was very, very dense. Normally I'd put some cool music over the fast forwarding, but I want a second to talk. I filmed this series over a year ago, but I never posted it because I thought that it was getting a little repetitive with these updates and me showing every single detail, but that's what I wanted to do, was show everything from start to finish. We ended up getting 40 pounds, and I had to move out of this house because my landlord sold it, which is another reason it took so long to post this video. We've been really busy. So we did another tomato grow series where we only did 1 tomato per bucket, where these have 5 tomatoes per bucket, and we kept suckers and had a lot of main stems, and we got only 1.5 pounds per plant, 3 pounds total. So this is why I think it's important to have it in as much detail as possible for this grow series. I'm sorry if it was a bit long-winded, but I wanted to make sure that every single detail was added possible that might be valuable to somebody, even if it was repeated a couple of times, so that they can learn it over the whole series. There are several other factors why we only got 3 pounds off of our second tomato grow series. Our landlord left us without running water for 6 days, and I only had them at 1.2 EC, and I poorly pollinated them all the way up until their full harvest. They were poorly pruned and weren't kept to 1 main stem, kind of like our 2-year-long tomato plant that didn't produce many tomatoes because we didn't prune it that well either, which is why I say it's really important to keep them to 1 main stem, and why I think it's important we documented everything. And to have like 5 or 6 tomatoes in each bucket. We kept a couple suckers when they got towards the top. It started to get out of control at the end of this grow as well. You'll see in the next video. I'm going to have another long form video coming out after this of a conclusion to the grow series, and another one after that of how to grow in a conclusion, everything from start to finish about the tomatoes that I've learned over the 5 years I've grown tomatoes indoors hydroponically. Thank you for your patience if you've been following along with this series this far. This series got a little messy towards the end, but I update in short and long form, and we're going to wrap it all up soon. Thank you, and I hope you understand. So that concludes our 4th time watering at the 10-week point. We're going to check back up with you when we water again. It may be a week or 2. Now that we removed all the suckers and a lot of those sun leaves, they may start drinking a little less, but probably a week or 2. Also, when we go to harvest them, if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll try to point you in the right direction or help you as much as possible. We also documented everything. It's going to be in our indoor hydroponic tomatoes playlist, but at the end of this video, which is right now, I will tag our hydroponic plants playlist. Be on the lookout for our merch. It is dropping soon. We chose that it should drop October 1st, around 12 Pacific. So be on the lookout for that, since we only have a couple hoodies in each size. And I'm going to make an entire separate video talking about the merch and it being on 100% organic cotton, made with no pesticides or insecticides in the growing process, and that it was printed on eco-friendly clothing, and just the story behind Ditch the Flockhorn, what the brand is about. But for now, we have a hydroponic plants playlist, like I was saying, which is just all of our hydroponic plants videos. It's also on Facebook, you just can't click it here. What YouTube thinks is best for you. You can subscribe for more about me. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.